Stop everything you're doing and pay attention, because what I'm about to reveal will completely change the way you think about attraction. We showed 25-year-old women photos of fit, confident 60-year-old men, and what happened next will shock you. 83% of them didn't care about money, looks, or status. They didn't focus on age or the superficial traits most men obsess over. Instead, their responses were astonishingly clear. They said one thing: they felt safe. Think about that for a second. While most men are wasting years chasing youth, trying to impress with muscles, fancy clothes, or flashy lifestyles, the truth is far simpler and far more powerful. Women are wired to respond to emotional stability, presence, and depth. They can sense it within seconds. Your confidence, your calm, your ability to take responsibility for yourself. All of these matter infinitely more than the number of candles on your birthday cake. By the end of this video, you'll understand why being older isn't a disadvantage. It can be your ultimate advantage. You'll discover the hidden traits that make younger women instinctively attracted to men who have lived, grown, and mastered themselves. I'm going to reveal the exact reasons why presence, self-mastery, emotional maturity, and consistency are the qualities that trigger attraction at a subconscious level. This is not about tricks, lines, or fake charm. This is about becoming the kind of man who doesn't chase desire. It draws it effortlessly. If you've ever felt overlooked, underestimated, or like youth is the only thing that can make someone attractive, this video will shatter that illusion. Stay until the end, because once you see these results, your entire understanding of attraction and your approach to relationships will never be the same. By the time you finish watching, you'll know exactly how to become the man who commands attention, ignites desire, and leaves a lasting impression, without saying a single word that isn't true to who you are. When we think about attraction, most men immediately jump to appearances, muscles, jawlines, fashion, or even money. We are taught to believe that youth is an automatic advantage, that being younger automatically makes a man desirable, and that older men are past their prime. But the moment you look deeper, the illusion dissolves. Attraction is rarely about what the eyes see. It is about what the nervous system senses. When we show 25-year-old women photos of fit 60-year-old men, the results were shocking, yet entirely consistent with human psychology. 83% didn't focus on how old the men were, how defined their bodies appeared, or what their wardrobe signaled. Their responses centered around one deep, unspoken human need: safety. These women instinctively recognized men who carried a sense of groundedness, calm, and internal order. They felt something in their bodies that told them, this man can handle life. He will not collapse under pressure. He will not demand more from me than I am willing to give. Presence, in this sense, is not something that can be faked. It cannot be bought or built in a week at the gym. Presence is the natural outcome of a life that has been consciously lived, where a man has confronted his fears, embraced responsibility, and integrated his experiences rather than running from them. When a man reaches this state, he exudes a calm authority that is almost magnetic. It is not arrogance, it is certainty. It is not control, it is steadiness. And that steadiness communicates safety in a way that no superficial display ever could. Think about it from a psychological standpoint. Humans are wired to seek stability. When we encounter chaos, whether emotional or environmental, it triggers fear, distrust, and avoidance. Younger women, even subconsciously, are highly attuned to emotional turbulence. Youth often comes with volatility, emotional reactivity, impulsiveness, and a constant need for external validation. A man who has cultivated presence, however, signals the opposite. He signals reliability. He signals that life has not shaken him into uncertainty. That in itself is profoundly attractive. This also challenges one of the most persistent myths in society, that age diminishes a man's desirability. Age does not inherently reduce value. What reduces value is disorder, instability, or a life that has not been consciously shaped. Conversely, a man who has lived longer and who has chosen growth over distraction, struggle over blame, and depth over shallow pursuit carries an aura that is simply impossible to ignore. Presence is an energy that cuts through superficial judgments. It creates a sense of calm in others, a subtle recognition that this is someone who does not need to compete to be seen. It's essential to understand that presence is multidimensional. It is reflected in posture, in voice, in the way a man listens without planning his next sentence. It is expressed through the ability to maintain composure when confronted with conflict, to respond rather than react, and to move through the world without seeking approval at every turn. These are signals that communicate competence, reliability, and emotional stability. They are far more compelling than youth, fashion, or fleeting charm because they address a deeper human instinct, the desire for safety, certainty, and emotional alignment. When a man cultivates presence, he is no longer trapped in the external validation loop. He is no longer asking, "Do they like me?" or "Am I attractive enough?" He simply exists in his own authority, and that presence becomes irresistible. Women, especially younger women, may not consciously articulate this attraction, but their nervous system recognizes it immediately. They feel drawn to it, often without knowing why, because presence creates a resonance that goes beyond words, appearances, or material possessions. So, if there is a lesson here, it is this: stop trying to impress. Stop worrying about the superficial measures of desirability. Instead, focus on becoming the kind of man who is undeniably present. Cultivate calm self-possession and certainty. Learn to navigate your own life with discipline and integrity. Face your fears, manage your emotions, and let your experiences shape you into someone who does not chase approval, but embodies it naturally. Because when you do, you will discover that attraction is no longer something you pursue, it is something that pursues you. The truth is simple yet transformative. Presence outweighs appearance. Depth outweighs youth. Groundedness outweighs performance. The men who master this inner realm are the ones who leave a lasting impression, not because of how they look, but because of who they have become. And that is a power no age can take away. Emotional maturity is one of the most misunderstood and underestimated qualities in attraction. Many men believe that confidence, wealth, or physical fitness alone will capture attention, but what the data and human psychology consistently reveal is far more profound. Younger women are drawn to men who can create a sense of emotional safety. And emotional safety is not something you claim or display, it is something you embody. When we observe interactions between younger women and older, grounded men, one pattern emerges immediately. The women relax, their posture changes, their gaze softens, their nervous system signals that they can breathe, that they can lower their defenses, and that they are in the presence of someone who will not overwhelm or destabilize them. This is not a conscious calculation. It is biological, neurological, and primal. A woman's subconscious can detect emotional stability almost instantly, and it has far more influence on attraction than superficial features ever could. Emotional maturity is rooted in self-regulation. It is the ability to respond rather than react. A man who has developed this quality does not need to assert dominance or control conversations. He does not overreact to perceived slights or uncertainty. Instead, he listens, he observes, and he acts from a place of calm authority. This creates an invisible signal that life is manageable, that stress does not lead to chaos, and that connection will not come with hidden danger. When a woman senses this, her body releases tension, her mind allows curiosity and openness to flourish. Desire follows naturally, but it is grounded in trust, not manipulation. Consider how often younger men inadvertently sabotage attraction. They allow their insecurities to leak through. They argue to be right rather than listening to understand. They show impatience or impulsivity, revealing a nervous system still untrained and unregulated. Emotional immaturity is like static noise. It makes connection difficult and keeps women at a distance. The older, emotionally mature man, by contrast, provides clarity and resonance. He is like a calm harbor after a storm. His stability communicates that she can engage without fear of chaos, unpredictability, or drama. This is why emotional maturity is inseparable from attraction. It is not a trait to be faked. It is a skill to be cultivated. A man develops it by observing his own reactions, understanding the triggers of his emotions, and consistently practicing self-control in moments of discomfort. It requires honesty, reflection, and the courage to face one's weaknesses rather than hiding them behind charm or performance. Over time, this practice creates a nervous system that is resilient and composed, and it projects a magnetism that no physical appearance alone can achieve. Emotional maturity also shapes the way a man interacts with others in subtle, yet powerful ways. He does not seek to dominate or control a conversation, nor does he compete for attention through noise or spectacle. He is attentive without being needy, authoritative without being overbearing, and present without performing. Every gesture, every tone of voice, and every pause communicates stability. Women pick up on these cues immediately, even if they cannot articulate why they feel drawn. Attraction is not a product of logic. It is a reflection of how a man's inner world regulates and aligns with hers. It is important to note that emotional maturity is not about perfection. It is not about suppressing emotions or appearing unshakable at all times. True maturity comes from integrating all aspects of the self: strength and vulnerability, confidence and humility, certainty and curiosity. A man who can feel deeply, process his emotions, and express himself appropriately conveys authenticity. That authenticity is magnetic. Women sense it because it creates a space where they can also be authentic without fear of judgment or emotional turbulence. When a man invests in his emotional growth, he gains far more than attraction. He gains clarity, resilience, and the ability to navigate life's challenges without being overwhelmed. He communicates to the world, and especially to women, that he is a man who can be relied upon, who will not crumble under pressure, and whose presence creates trust rather than anxiety. This is the invisible architecture of attraction, and it cannot be replicated by superficial effort or mimicry. So, if you are watching this, understand this truth. Emotional maturity is the foundation upon which all meaningful attraction is built. It is not optional. It is not secondary. It is the subtle, powerful, and often overlooked quality that determines whether a woman feels safe enough to open herself to you, to desire you, and to invest in a connection that lasts. Your challenge is clear: master yourself. Learn to regulate your emotions, respond with calm authority, and create safety in every interaction. When you do more than attract. You inspire trust, curiosity, and deep connection. And in that space, attraction no longer needs to be forced. It becomes inevitable. Confidence is one of the most misunderstood concepts in the world of attraction. Many men confuse it with arrogance, loudness, or the ability to dominate a room. They think confidence is something you perform, something you put on like a costume. But the truth is far more subtle, far more profound. True confidence is rooted in self-mastery, in the deep knowledge that you are enough, that you are capable, and that you do not need external validation to justify your existence. When we observe older men who consistently attract younger women, one thing stands out immediately: they do not try to impress. They do not compete for attention or fight to prove their worth. They move through life with a quiet authority that is impossible to ignore. That authority comes from the realization that life has challenges, and they have faced them, survived them, and learned from them. They are not afraid of failure because failure is no longer a threat, it is a teacher. They are not afraid of judgment because their self-worth is internalized. And they are not afraid of rejection because they have cultivated the inner resources to handle it without collapsing. This kind of confidence cannot be faked. You cannot mimic it with a flashy car, a designer suit, or a rehearsed line. It emerges from discipline. experience, and emotional intelligence, a man who invests in his growth, who faces his fears head-on, and who takes responsibility for his life carries a presence that commands attention without demanding it. Women, especially younger women, may not consciously analyze why they are drawn to such a man, but their subconscious recognizes the difference immediately. They sense that he is grounded, reliable, and capable of navigating life's uncertainties without losing himself. That recognition triggers attraction on a level that superficial charm can never reach. Confidence rooted in self-trust also changes the way a man communicates. He does not over-explain, over-apologize, or try to manipulate perceptions. He speaks with clarity and intention, knowing that his words have weight, because they come from someone who has thought deeply, lived deliberately, and acted consistently. He listens not to respond, but to understand. He engages not to dominate, but to connect. This kind of presence is magnetic because it signals stability, integrity, and self-possession, all qualities that women intuitively crave. It is important to distinguish self-mastery from rigidity. A confident man is not inflexible or emotionally frozen. He is adaptable, curious, and open to growth. What makes him magnetic is the balance between certainty and humility. He knows who he is, but he is also aware of what he does not know. He projects strength without aggression, calm without detachment, and security without arrogance. This nuanced confidence communicates something primal, that he is a man who can be trusted, who will not collapse under pressure, and who will not demand more than a woman is willing to give. Most men focus on trying to perform confidence using tricks, lines, or superficial behaviors to appear attractive. But attraction built on performance is brittle. It falters under stress, it disappears under scrutiny, and it reveals itself as insecurity masquerading as strength. In contrast, confidence built on self-mastery is resilient. It survives the pressures of life, the uncertainties of relationships, and the inevitable challenges of human interaction. It becomes not just a trait, but a state of being that permeates every action, every gesture, and every word. The connection between confidence and attraction is also deeply psychological. Women, especially younger women, are subconsciously assessing whether a man can provide emotional stability, consistency, and reliability. A man who exudes self-mastery communicates that he is capable of handling life's challenges without external validation. That, in turn, creates safety, trust, and an openness to connection. Attraction, therefore, is not something a man can force through charm or effort. It is a natural byproduct of becoming someone who is whole, grounded, and self-assured. If there is a single insight to carry from this, it is this: stop trying to perform confidence. Stop chasing validation and recognition as if they will define your worth. Instead, invest in yourself, in your growth, in your discipline, and in your emotional intelligence. Face your fears, confront your weaknesses, and cultivate resilience. When you do, confidence ceases to be something you must project. It becomes something you naturally embody. And when you embody it, attraction becomes effortless, undeniable, and lasting. True confidence is not loud, it is not flashy, it is not desperate, it is quiet, anchored, and unshakable. It is the result of a man who has mastered himself, and in doing so, has become impossible to ignore. That is the kind of confidence that draws, that captivates, and that inspires not just admiration but genuine desire. Responsibility and consistency are two qualities that, when combined, create an almost magnetic presence. Yet, these are among the most overlooked aspects of attraction. Many men think that excitement, charm, or even unpredictability will draw attention. But the truth is far more profound. Women, especially younger women, are subconsciously scanning for signs of reliability and emotional accountability. They are looking for men who can manage their lives, navigate challenges, and maintain their composure over time. This is not about superficial control or dominance. It is about a man who takes full responsibility for himself and the life he is creating. When we look at the men who naturally attract attention regardless of age, What sets them apart is not temporary thrill or flashy gestures. It is the consistent demonstration of responsibility. They do what they say they will do. They manage their emotions instead of letting emotions manage them. They honor their commitments, respect their own boundaries, and respect the boundaries of others. This creates a quiet yet profound sense of trust. Trust is a word often taken lightly, but it is one of the most powerful signals a man can send. When a woman senses trustworthiness, her nervous system relaxes. She does not need to question, analyze, or strategize. She can simply be present. Responsibility also encompasses the way a man handles his life. It is reflected in his career, in his health, in his relationships, and in how he approaches challenges. A man who takes ownership of his life is not reactive, he is proactive. He does not blame circumstances, other people, or even fate. He understands that his choices matter and that his future is built upon the actions he takes today. This kind of accountability is magnetic because it signals mastery, not mastery over others, but mastery over oneself. A woman may not consciously analyze each decision he makes, but she feels the weight of his competence, the reliability of his character, and the quiet assurance that he will navigate life with integrity. Consistency is the other half of this equation. It is not enough to take responsibility once, or sporadically, or in moments of convenience. Consistency is the daily demonstration that a man can be counted on. It is shown in the routines he maintains, the promises he keeps, and the way he responds to life's challenges with steadiness rather than panic. This creates a psychological anchor for women. It tells them that he is someone who will not crumble under pressure, someone whose presence is stable, predictable, and reliable. And stability, when paired with depth and emotional maturity, is one of the most attractive qualities a man can possess. There is a philosophical layer to this as well. Responsibility and consistency are reflections of a man's alignment with reality. Life is unpredictable, chaotic, and often unfair. A man who takes responsibility and acts consistently demonstrates that he has accepted this truth and chosen to navigate it consciously. He is not controlled by whims, fear, or insecurity. He does not flinch at uncertainty or collapse under stress. This acceptance of reality, combined with a disciplined response to it, signals profound competence and inner strength. Women detect this instinctively because it creates an environment in which they can feel secure and supported without feeling controlled or overburdened. It is also essential to understand that responsibility and consistency are not just external behaviors, they are internal states. A man who embodies these qualities has structured his inner world. He has clarity about his values, priorities, and goals. He is not pulled in multiple directions by ego, desire, or social expectation. Instead, he operates from a center of purpose, and this purpose becomes visible in everything he does. It is in the way he speaks, the way he moves, and the way he responds to adversity. It is an invisible current that women sense immediately. Attraction is not merely visual or verbal, it is energetic, and consistency and responsibility create a magnetic, stabilizing energy that draws others in. The men who master responsibility and consistency do not need to prove themselves or seek constant approval. Their reliability speaks louder than words. Their accountability, paired with emotional regulation and self-mastery, communicates competence, security, and trustworthiness. This combination is rare because most men never take the time to cultivate it. They chase performance over presence, attention over alignment, and instant gratification over long-term growth. But a man who invests in himself in these ways becomes undeniable, not because of appearance, youth, or fleeting charm, but because he has constructed a life and a self that can be trusted and depended upon. So if there is one truth to carry from this insight, it is this: attraction is not built on chaos or unpredictability. It is built on responsibility, consistency, and reliability. Master these, and you communicate value without trying. Attract not through effort, but through presence. Become a man whose life is ordered, whose choices are deliberate, and whose character can be counted on, and you will discover that the women who matter are naturally drawn to you, not by chance, but by the irresistible gravity of your integrity. Depth over youth, presence over performance. This is the principle that separates men who merely exist from men who are undeniably magnetic. Many men live their lives chasing fleeting markers of desirability, looks, wealth, status, or even the thrill of attention. They believe that youth alone guarantees attraction, that being younger will make women notice, approve, and desire them. But the truth, which is far more profound, is that depth is the ultimate currency in human connection. It is not something you acquire overnight. It is something you cultivate over a lifetime through choices, experience, and introspection. When we examined the reactions of younger women to fit, confident 60-year-old men, what became clear was that attraction was not rooted in appearance or superficial charm. It was rooted in depth, the sense that these men had lived fully, faced their challenges, and emerged with a sense of inner order that was rare and magnetic. Depth communicates a man's history, his understanding of himself, and his ability to navigate life without being swallowed by chaos. Women, whether consciously or subconsciously, sense this immediately. They feel drawn to it because it signals security, competence, and stability, qualities that youth alone cannot provide. Depth is manifested in multiple layers. It is emotional maturity, the ability to regulate reactions and respond thoughtfully rather than impulsively. It is intellectual curiosity, the desire to understand life, people, and oneself on a profound level. It is philosophical resilience, the ability to sit with discomfort, uncertainty, and complexity without needing to escape or impose superficial solutions. When a man embodies these qualities, he radiates a quiet authority that cannot be faked, that cannot be imitated, and that cannot be undermined by age. In fact, these qualities often deepen with age, making older men who cultivate them more compelling than men half their age who lack them. Women are drawn to depth because it creates psychological resonance. When a man has depth, he communicates that he can handle life's realities, that he is not fragile or reactive, and that he has a framework for understanding both himself and others. This resonates on a subconscious level because humans are wired to seek stability and competence in their partners. A man who demonstrates depth is not simply attractive, he is a safe harbor in a chaotic world, someone whose presence can be relied upon without fear of emotional volatility or manipulation. This is why depth is magnetic. It is not about impressing, it is about being, and being fully aligned with oneself. Depth also changes the way a man interacts with women. He does not over-explain, overperform, or attempt to manipulate desire. Instead, he listens attentively, speaks with intention, and engages authentically. His attention is not scattered by ego or insecurity. It is focused, measured, and deliberate. This creates a sense of alignment and trust that cannot be achieved through superficial charm or external markers of status. Women sense the difference instinctively. They are not calculating, they are responding to energy, to the resonance of a man who is fully present, fully integrated, and fully himself. Another crucial aspect of depth is self-possession. A man with depth has cultivated an inner life that does not depend on external validation. He has confronted his fears, integrated his experiences, and established a sense of purpose that guides his actions. This self-possession communicates calm authority and independence. It signals that he is not chasing attention, approval, or fleeting admiration. He is creating a life of meaning, consistency, and intentionality. And this is profoundly attractive because it removes chaos, drama, and uncertainty from the interaction, allowing connection and desire to flourish naturally. Depth is not superficial charm. It is not fleeting excitement. It is not even knowledge alone. It is the integration of experience, self-awareness, emotional intelligence, and intentionality. A man who cultivates depth moves through the world with a quiet magnetism, one that cannot be fabricated, one that grows stronger with time, and one that commands attention simply because it is rare. Women, particularly younger women who are still learning to navigate the complexities of life, are instinctively drawn to this rare energy. They sense a man who has substance, a man who has learned, and a man who has become. The lesson is simple, yet transformative. If you want to become magnetic, stop chasing youth, stop chasing superficial markers of desirability. Instead, invest in yourself, in your growth, in your emotional, intellectual, and philosophical depth. Build a life that reflects your values, your integrity, and your self-mastery. Become a man whose presence is felt before a word is spoken, whose authority is recognized before a demand is made, and whose depth draws others toward him effortlessly. Depth is the ultimate magnet. Presence is the ultimate signal. Integration is the ultimate proof. The men who embody these qualities are not chasing desire, they are receiving it naturally, powerfully, and irreversibly. If you commit to cultivating depth in yourself, you will discover that attraction is no longer something you pursue. It becomes inevitable, and that, ultimately, is the true power of becoming the man you were always capable of being.